My name is Gerardo Carmona, and I am a Senior Partner Success Manager at Nectar. I help brands grow and scale their business on Amazon by helping put together strategies and other best practices on Amazon. The main thing is obviously wanting to make sure that you have your top sellers in stock, that you have good lead in time to make sure that inventory never runs out of stock. And when it comes to forecasting, you also want to take into account factors such as seasonality, and maybe promotions or things like that, just when you know that demand is going to be higher. So it's definitely a constant. It's something that you can't just say, I forecasted for the rest of the year and I'm good to go. Demand supply, it always changes. It's always a dynamic thing. And so you always want to make sure that you stay ahead of your inventory forecasting and that you forecast basically almost like twice a month to make sure that you are well placed as far as making sure all of your inventory is in place.
What would your day-to-day be? And you said I'm checking twice a month on my inventory as best practice, at least for inventory purposes. What tools are you using? What reports are you running? I want to get really inside baseball here.
So when it comes to inventory forecasting, specifically with Amazon FBA, you want to look at your Amazon restock report. That's a report that Amazon offers sellers to be able to see what is obviously in stock in FBA, but they'll also give you recommendations as far as how much inventory to send in, what date to send it in. They'll also give you information as far as your sell-through rate and how many days you have left in stock. So all of this data is important to understand and really gives you an idea of how fast your inventory moves or how often you need to replenish your inventory. When it comes to the recommendations that Amazon gives, sometimes the recommendations of units to send in are a little bit too drastic or too dramatic. And so they're recommending you to send in 100 more units than what you actually sold in the last 30 days. And what's happening with that is Amazon is recognizing that there are gaps in the market. And so when there's demand and they recognize that, but there's not enough other sellers filling in that gap, they're requesting other sellers that have similar products and saying, hey, send in more of your inventory because there's more demand here, there's a gap here, and so you could try to fill that in. However, I think one of the mistakes that a lot of people do is when they see those recommendations and they see the numbers, they really want to start pumping inventory up and start sending inventory way ahead of time, maybe 60 plus days ahead. And that's really a mistake because you really want to make sure that you're sending at maximum 30 to 45 day inventory because you have inventory capacity and sell-through rate that you need to consider. And so in order to keep a very good FBA IPI score metric, you really want to be very cognizant of your sell-through rate. And so if you send too much inventory at once, it's not going to sell fast enough and you're going to have issues. But if you don't send enough inventory, then you're going to start having stock outs. And so really having a good balance between leading time, sending inventory, sending just enough, but continuously sending FBA inventory and replenishing to make sure that you can keep your sell-through rate high is something that a lot of people sort of miss. You really want to just focus on what is your top winners, your top selling products. Amazon is a place where most of the brands will have about maybe 10% of their catalog really be the main revenue drivers. Most of the time, brands make the mistake that when they want to scale, that usually equates to more products, more advertising across the products, and sending in more inventory. That's not necessarily the case with Amazon. You really want to hone in on who your winners already are and leverage those to scale your brand and your business on Amazon. In other words, don't focus so broadly across your catalog. Really only focus on what's your main revenue drivers and try to prop those up. Those will give you, because they're already your top sellers, they will give you better efficiency in terms of advertising. So you'll be able to get more bang for your buck when you're trying to put your brand out there and really gain more awareness, as opposed to trying to spread your advertising too thin across a lot of your products, you're not getting the most effective results from doing something like that. If you could only focus on just one product and make one product your winner and boost that product and really make an effort to raise your ranking for just that one single product, the amount of traffic that you'll get on one single product that trickles down to the rest of your brand through the brand store, through the brand story, storefront, A plus comparison charts and things like that, that's going to have a much better impact and effect for your business to scale instead of trying to cover so much ground where you're really going to be capped by spreading yourself too thin. Instead, focus on your clear winners, and those will get you a lot further than spreading yourself too thin across your catalog.
It's easy to see why a brand would try to just kind of take on everything at once and say, oh, this is a really great idea. Let's try to apply this to our whole catalog. And then you get stuck into this sweeping project where you're attempting to do everything for every product, and effectively you're overworking, using too many resources, and getting no massive benefit to your bottom line, which is really the goal. Really, it's a Pareto's law of sales where only a few of your products are doing really well. And if you nail those down, then you've got a framework that can be used to move over to the rest of the catalog, but at a responsible, resource-friendly pace. That's what we do at Nectar. We start out, at least strategically, by moving things into 3 tiers of products. We're talking about high movers, and then your winners, and then the ones that have the potential to move but maybe aren't there yet. And then it's basically the rest of your catalog that you should not focus too many resources on because it's diminishing returns.
When you notice products are starting to pick up and starting to gain momentum, you really want to keep lighting that fire under that momentum and keep that product going. And that's kind of part of why the strategy of focusing on your top winners first, dedicating more time and effort to those, because you put those, you really want to break through the market as far as Amazon search page is concerned. When you search anything on Amazon, you're only really seeing the top 7 pages, even though you'll see that there's thousands more. And so again, if you're putting equal effort across your catalog, you're not really breaking through the market, whereas opposed to putting your effort in a really dedicated push for your top products, you'll break through that market. You'll eventually start to appear higher in those ranks, and now you're actually visible. Your brand is visible, you have more brand awareness, and that's the effect that you want to have by focusing on your tier 1 products. Once you break through the market, it becomes a lot easier to dedicate more focus on tier 2 and tier 3 products, because now that you've broken through the market, you're getting that traffic, you're getting that awareness, and it's much easier for the rest of your products to basically take off. So sponsored products is an advertising type that's just going to show one single product across multiple touch points on Amazon.com. This could include in the search page. This would include at other products detail pages where it says, similar items to this product, and in other pages on Amazon, of course. But it's really only limited to one product advertisement. And so with sponsored products, you're able to target by keyword, you're able to target by other competitors. And so it really gives you some flexibility to go after search queries and really hone in your advertising depending on what search query is most relevant. This way, you're being very focused and very targeted about where you want your ads to show. Sponsored brands they work very similar to sponsored products in the sense that you can also target by keyword and target by broad, exact, or phrase match, but they also allow you to target by category, and you can also utilize creative assets within your sponsored brand advertisements. You can use lifestyle images, you can use static images, you can also promote more than just one single product with sponsored brands. You can promote a category of subpages, or you can promote a collection of 3 single ASINs, and usually sponsored brands will appear top of search, or if you're utilizing sponsored brands video, they will appear in the middle of the search page. And sponsored brands are really most useful to spread brand awareness and to really pierce through a specific category by putting your brand at the forefront of that category. Sponsored display has multiple placements across Amazon as well, but sponsored display is a little bit of a mix because you can have on Amazon advertising and also off Amazon advertising with sponsored display through Amazon's network and also other partner sites that they utilize. So your advertising from Amazon could appear on other apps and other off Amazon channels as well. Sponsored display is a little bit different in the sense that you can use creative assets, but the targeting is much different than it is for sponsored products and sponsored brands. You're targeting either by contextual or audience targeting. And so it really gives you the ability to go more upper funnel. So sponsored displays, more upper funnel placements because you're targeting a specific audience or some type of contextual targeting, meaning that if you have a specific price point that you want to target in a specific category, you can do that and reach more customers than just by a specific keyword, if that makes sense. In addition to sponsored display, also gives you the ability to price or buy advertisement through cost per thousand viewable impressions as opposed to per click. And so sponsored display is usually a very, very cost-effective way to advertise top of funnel and try to bring in more, spread brand awareness and bring in new to brand customers because of that pricing structure. Brands should be using all three campaign types for their advertising strategy. What you really want to do is keep your brand at the top of mind when it comes to customers. If you have sponsored display, you're introducing your brand and your product to potential new customers. Now that they are aware of your brand, they could be now into a consideration period and they're looking for, the product. Maybe not at that particular moment, but maybe in the future, because you have introduced your brand and you became a touch point for them in the past, you're not able to remarket them again with sponsored display. And also Amazon will recognize that if that person is aware of your brand and is shopping within your category aisle, chances of your advertising showing to that customer is much more likely. So having sponsored display and reaching top of funnel brings those customers in and they're already keeping your brand in mind from the very get-go. Then once they go into Amazon and start searching, you have sponsored brands that are top of search. So right away when they're looking, it's again a connection between, hey, I saw this off brand. Now that I come off Amazon, now that I come to Amazon, I'm seeing the same brand again. And then when it comes to sponsored products, if you place your advertisements on other competitor product detail pages, yet again, you're showing up and you're keeping your brand at top of mind for the customer. So at every touch point that they're whether it's awareness to the consideration period to finally the purchase period, you want to make sure that you follow that customer throughout the entire journey. And so you can only do that by having sponsored display, sponsored brand, and sponsored product campaigns all simultaneously working to basically keep your brand at top of customers' mind, increasing the chances for them making a purchase with your brand. Usually when it comes to Amazon and especially advertising, you're either trying to grow your brand or you're trying to be very profitable with your sales. Unfortunately, you can't have both. It's either or. And so if you want to grow, you have to, spend money to make money. And so if you're looking to really grow your brand, you have to be aware of your ROAS metric and your total ACoS metric. They're not going to be the most profitable because you're trying to grow the brand. If you're trying to be efficient and remain profitable, you're not going after growth. And so therefore, again, you're not fostering growth and new to brand customers to your brand. So you can have both.
I think people do more often than not try to do both at the same time. And it's really a question of where you're investing your time. Investing in your brand will render more profits in the long term. And of course, you can inject individual products and get them at a more expensive rate at first if your brand is not established. You really have to focus on one or the other. And then, so I imagine you would tier up brand building as a goal and then work on the products themselves. and then actually go into other phases where you're building the brand again, depending on positioning.
It sort of works like a staircase when we're talking about growing a brand and what we say scale a brand. While you're in the staircase and it's kind of flat, you're in the profitable stage, if that makes sense. Once you start to grow, you really want to grow, but at that point, you're not very profitable. You're growing, trying to get new customers. At some point, organic sales will also pick up due to your advertising efforts, and that's when the staircase starts to go up, so you're growing. But at some point, you want to cut the growth because profitability, you want to keep that in mind. And so then you work your way up, then you stop, you consider profitability, and then you make another push. And so every little push, you're going up. And so that's the way to scale, where you're not trying to go for both growth and efficiency at the same time. You're going for growth, then you pivot, you understand what the data tells you, you understand where you're going, you've achieved some sort of growth also organically. Then you kind of let that run, pull back a little bit, you make sure that you have efficiency and you see what the data tells you, and then you make another push. And what you're really trying to do is push not just your top products, but once you got your top products in a good place and you feel like, hey, they're now they're growing, they're standing up on its own organically, then you can reallocate that spend towards another product and then grow that product. And so once you've established one product at a good enough level, if reallocate that spend, focus on another product, and then that's how you can start to see real growth and real scale across your brand and your catalog. When you have products that people are not going to be repurchasing very often, your main goal is to try to acquire more new to brand customers. So you're always trying to stay within the top to mid funnel sort of advertising range to attract new customers. But that's not to say that you can't remarket existing customers. If they buy a power rack, chances are they might also need a power bench. And so you want to remarket anybody that's purchased your power racks and remarket your power bench to them. Maybe you want to remarket other accessories, maybe the power bar or a weight rack, things that go along with the sort of total home gym of equipment. And so very similar to, like, say, for instance, maybe somebody that's buying a bed sheet, for example, chances are they're not going to buy a bed sheet until next year. And so what do? You want to remarket your blanket throws, you want to remarket your pillows, you want to remarket, maybe you have bedding sheets in that same design, you also have them in bed curtains. So remarket your bed curtains to customers who purchase your bedding as well. So there's always possibilities, even in situations where customers are not consistently purchasing your type of product, there's always possibilities to remarket to them. Those the efforts are obviously not going to be anywhere near your new to brand efforts, of course, but it does give this impression to the customer that you have a lot more to offer than just that product. And so they might consider you in the future, or they might recommend you to somebody else in the future, because again, you're staying at the top of their mind when they're surfing on the internet, when they're on their apps. If you continue to retarget to them, it's a constant reminder that, hey, I like this product. And not just that, I mean, most of the times people are purchasing products and they're not leaving reviews. If they don't get the email, sometimes they'll get the email and they'll ignore it. But if you remarket to them and they see your brand come up again and they really like your product, it's just another reminder that, hey, you purchased this product, you really like this product, check us out again. When you're looking at campaigns, you obviously want to look where wasted spend is happening, and you want to cut those off right away. Now, of course, there's a lot of situations where, hey, profitability doesn't really play as a big role because we're trying to just get more impressions. But again, impressions doesn't necessarily mean people are actually purchasing or going into your product detail page. So in that situation, you want to look at, are my clicks growing? And if they are, then I'm achieving what I want to achieve. Even though my ROAS is not where it needs to be as far as efficiency, I'm still reaching new customers and they're clicking, and they might not be purchasing now, which is why my ROAS is not in a good place. But I've at least introduced my brand to customers, to new customers. They're clicking and they're becoming aware of my brand. So if that's what your goal is, then it's fine. But for the most part, generally speaking, you really want to cut anywhere where wasted spend is happening. That's going to allow you to reallocate that spend elsewhere where it's going to be much more efficient, and it's going to be much more impactful. So that's always the first thing that you want to look at when it comes to the campaigns. As far as the frequency is concerned, you don't really get results until after 2 weeks when you set up a campaign. Now, after the first 2 weeks, you finally get your data, but with that data, you want to utilize that information to start making adjustments. And once you make those adjustments, it's another 2 weeks for you to see the results. So we're talking about a month time from the time that you set up first campaigns. And even after a month, depending on what you really want to go after, depending on the time period that you're in, it's not about taking your foot off the gas pedal if it's not going the right way. It still does take time for that momentum to build and for that campaign to really start taking off. As a matter of fact, we have observed in the past that brands that have campaigns, sort of legacy campaigns, we would call them, that have just been existing for a longer period of time, when we set up new campaigns that are very similar to those legacy campaigns, those new campaigns, they do not perform as good as these legacy campaigns from the get-go, even though they did the exact same thing. You would expect that they would perform at a similar rate because you're setting up the exact same thing. But as a matter of fact, that does not happen. So what that tells you is that the longer that you run a campaign, the more chances are that it will be more effective in the future. You don't want to set it and forget it, but at the same time, you want to continuously make adjustments and keep improving that campaign so that this way in the future, it's more efficient. A lot of brands make the mistake of opening up a campaign, letting it run for a month. They don't see the exact results that they want. They turn it off and then they open up a new one. And that's a mistake because you're always hitting the reset button every time that you do that. And you're not really allowing your campaigns to gain any sort of momentum. And that's basically killing your growth and your scalability. If you're spending money and you're not getting any sales, of course, but also your click-through rate. If you're seeing that you have a very poor click-through rate, your campaign is spending money, is getting out there, but is not being clicked, it just tells you that there's something not optimized with that product. So you're not getting the most efficiency out of that campaign. You really want to take a look at that first and make sure that you have a good click-through rate, because it's not just about getting the customer to your product page. You also want them to convert. But if you have a bad click-through rate from the get-go, then it doesn't give a lot of confidence. So people are clicking, but they're clicking and it's not a very confident click.
There could be things going wrong on the back end, front end there, right? Like you could either be targeting it inappropriately and or the front end is just not attractive or doesn't have the right information to want the correct audience to convert, if it is the correct audience.
Basically starts off with the click-through rate as far as understanding like, hey, are you targeting correctly? And if you are targeting correctly and you see that you have a good click-through rate, then you want to take a look at, okay, what is my conversion looking like? If your conversion is healthy, then you know you have a good targeting strategy and you have a good conversion strategy as far as how your product detail page looks. If you have a good click-through rate, but you have a bad conversion, then you know there's something wrong with not your targeting method, but there's something wrong with your conversion. So you need to go and fix that, whether it's images, SEO optimization. There might be a situation where you're targeting the wrong keyword and people are coming in thinking that they're going to purchase a type of product with a specific feature, but your product actually doesn't have that feature. Then your conversion is going to suffer because of that. And so you want to take a look at both of those things. But generally speaking, when it comes to wasted spend, anytime that you're spending money and you're not getting the results as far as sales, you want to cut that off. So 50% ACoS or above, that should really be sort of a red flag to anyone to take a closer look and see what's going on with that campaign. First of all, Amazon is a very competitive space. It's a pay to play space. And because of that nature, you really want to make sure that you're constantly making updates. It's sort of like social media. You don't get anywhere with social media unless you continuously make post, day in and day out, making changes, making content. So in a very similar way, Amazon is that way. The more content that you make, the more listings that you optimize, the more A/B testing that you do, the more changes that you continuously do day in and day out, the more that's propelling your products and your brand on Amazon. And so on the Nectar side, what we really do a good job of is having dedicated teams in each of those Amazon touch points as far as account management, catalog management, content, advertising. You have dedicated people that will continuously push changes, optimizations, new content, and keep you ahead of the competition. And that's really what's going to be driving growth of sales over time. Because again, Amazon is a competitive space. It's a pay to play, pay to win space as well. You really have to continuously keep producing, keep reinventing keep re-optimizing. If you don't do that, you set yourself up for failure because other competitors are doing exactly that.
All right. Well, thank you, Gerardo. This has been amazing. There's just so much to consider when administering an Amazon account. As you said, there's so many touch points that need to be managed. It's resource intensive, and working with an agency can be that bridge to growth and profitability when it does really take that much effort. So I'm happy that you joined me today. Thank you for your answers. Again, you're one of my go-to guys whenever I get any sort of information and I need to go, what does this really mean? Tell me what it means. And so I really appreciate it. And if any of you are interested in finding out much more about what we do, reading in detail some blog posts on the topics that Gerardo talked about, or review some case studies about this information, please visit thinknectar.com. And if you need help growing your brand on Amazon, slap that contact button when you get to our website and we'll reach out. And if we can't help you, we will point you in the direction of somebody that can. Thank you. And thank you, Gerardo.
Thank you very much, Matt. It was a pleasure.